Hi, I'm Angel. Thanks for stopping by. Today I'm going to tell you part 8 of the story of how I built this head hut. Have a look around. It's made mostly out of papercrete, pumice, concrete, pounded earth tires, recycled glass, reused glass rather, or reclaimed glass. And I built it mostly all with my bare hands, a little bit of help from my friends here and there, but for the most part all on my own in my spare time while I was working and being a mom and doing other things. So I share that because if you have a dream, you have something you want to do, I encourage you, just do it. You'll learn as you'll go. You'll make mistakes and you'll learn. You'll figure it out. So without further ado, let's jump into part 8 of how I built this head hut. Part 8, I'm going to tell you about the front eye windows. I kind of always fantasized about having a giant round window to sit in, kind of like a space. You know, when I was a kid, as most kids do, I liked little spaces, tree houses, and eye windows, and I built myself a tree house and a couple of eye windows. So I'm going to come over here and sit in one. This one has a plant growing up into it. My, is that a wandering Jew, I think, is a little bit excited. So first off, you can kind of notice that this one, maybe you can notice from there, I'm not sure. This one is not perfectly round. It got kind of ovally, and that's because the space that I made for it didn't turn out to be big enough all the way through. You see how wide that is? It's over a foot. It's like 14 or 16 inches wide, and the space that I left for it when I built up the glass bottle wall didn't end up being quite enough. So, or as I built it up, I actually filled that in. So I with all the walls, I had to build from the bottom up with the infill rather. I actually had the pillars and the dome put on, not finished, but put on before I built to the infill walls, kind of cordwood style. But back to these eye windows. So I made the initial frame for them after much thinking and pondering, and I actually had collected this big giant water tank, a round water tank, and I was going to use that as a frame, like a form to build. Sorry, I'm trying to walk down here and have a rail and hold the camera at the same time. So here's the other eye window. It's a little more round. Neither of them is perfectly round, but this one is a lot closer to round than the other one. And I sit in this one more easily because the other one, well, has a plant in it. I could sit in it, but I don't have to move that plant around, and it's been happily there for a while. So here I am sitting in my eye window, though, which I really like. And there's still a little afternoon sun, not a lot. In any case, this eye window, I started with a piece of lath, and I measured it on this big water tank that I had so that I knew they were the same size. That's how I know that one is just pushed in. It's not like I, made it wrong size initially, because initially I started with these with pre-measured and formed round pieces of lath, and then I came and stuck them in this hole that I had started to leave. I started to build the bottom part of the bottle wall. There's like 2 rows, mostly clear. I did a lot of work to work out I was going to try to grow more plants in here, and I do have some plants growing in here, but I had envisioned like a whole aquaponics system down at the bottom, and as it stands now, there's not enough light, I don't think, without adding light, which I may do in the future if I get some solar panels out here. But in any case, for now, there's no plants growing down there. Well, I still got to finish the floor, which I haven't done. But so I put in a lot more clear bottles, was the whole point of that whole ramble. Was that in the back, I put in a lot of colored bottles. I don't know if you can see that. I'm trying to see where you can see, but I can't see what you see from there. So in the back there, I put in mostly color, and on the sides, I did some blue swirls and other colors and clear combination. And in the front top, I try to use a lot of clear. It actually took me quite a while to gather those big 1-gallon clear bottles, because it takes 2 for each glass dot you see in the structure. It's 2 cut bottles taped together so that the ends, see if you can see some of these behind me. Oh, no, behind my foot there. so that the ends are smooth and you can, see a colored dot on each side. On the outside, they're mostly white. There's some green ones, and most of the blue. Oh! You got dropped. Let's see if I can get you. There you are. All right. I may or may not edit that out. I'm trying to make these unedited, so let me get my finger off of there. You get a little leaf action, a little excitement for you there. That's the way my life is. Sometimes my phone falls down when I'm recording. Hey, we're not even live, but I probably still won't edit that because the intention of this part of the story is to be unscripted and unedited version, and that I'm going to use that to make a better version from. So I won't drop the phone on the better version, but you get a little phone dropping in this version. Anyway, excuse me. After I put in these lap frames, then I just plastered them the same way I did. Actually, no, first I actually put a whole layer of hard cement, like cement plaster with engineering fibers, which I used on the dome as well. And I used that same kind of mix first to plaster over the lath in these windows. And that's why they're nice and hard, so that I can sit in them without worrying that I'm going to bust up my plaster. And then over that, I put a lightweight lime, paper, pumice mix that I made most all of this inside plaster with, which you can probably kind of tell. It's pretty rough. Knowing what I know now, I probably would make it not with the pumice, maybe not the paper also. I don't know. The paper interacts with the lime kind of like hemp does in hempcrete. It's cellulose fiber. So in theory, and so far it appears in practice, but I don't have a chemistry lab to check it, but it does. It is very hard and does seem to be getting, or can you hear that? It's me rapping on it. It's quite hard. It took a while to cure, and it's a mixture of hydrated lime powder from Home Depot, and which is real fluffy and kind of nasty to work with. And you can soak it if you want. It gets kind of a little more putty-y, which I did for my plaster on the bottom where I put pigment in for paint. But this was just a real rough mix, and I just mixed in the mixer paper pulp, pumice from up in the Jemez Mountains, fine pumice powder and little pumice fines, like little pieces of it. They have different grades of it. This was kind of a medium to fine, and then I even experimented with some super fine, the stuff they throw away, which is like little tiny little fines, but it's actually not sharp enough. It's not enough tooth in it. The bigger pieces, small and up, that they sell are rough edge because they're broken pieces of volcanic material, so they have a rough edge, and they work really well for building with. And this mix that I used with the paper, the lime, and the pumice, and in some cases some engineering fibers, worked quite well. It was pretty cost effective. It was easy to use. It gave me quite a bit of time to work with. It cures kind of slow, and it's very earth friendly and it creates a breathable but hard permanent membrane, so you can get it wet and it won't break down, but at the same time it doesn't mold. It's great stuff. I really like it. I'm a big advocate of lime and pumice and paper in construction. So that's basically what I built these giant eye windows out of. And in the front, I got a couple of sheets of Lexan, which is another favorite building material of mine. And they sell it in all kinds of different grades and thicknesses. You can kind of see it has stripes going down it internally, so it's double thick with some little, with individual little compartments, which makes it more insulative than like glass would be. And it's also it's pretty cheap, and very cheap. It's not quite as cheap as plexiglass. It's a little more expensive than that. I can't remember if it was like $70 a sheet or something, but it's not super expensive, and it's super easy to work with. So it cuts with just a razor blade. In fact, you have to be careful because you can punch through it really easy when you're drilling through it. My drill slipped one time, punched a hole right through it. So it kind of, so it's not super strong. It's strong like against wind, and it curves. You can bend it. It's really great stuff. It's really easy to work with. It's pretty thermally sound, you know, compared to double pane glass, and it's especially if you seal it up right. I have this loose, you know, I built this. So on the outside, I could actually show you the outside, perhaps. On the outside, I built these feather leaf lashes. I might make that a separate part of the story because I did it later, and I was going to talk about my decorations that I added at a later part. But here we'll go right out the front, and I will show you how I finish these off with some feather leaf lashes, I call them. I built those out of, I'm trying to see what you see, sorry. No, this is pretty rough. Like I promised, it's rough. Here's the other one. So, a little more round. And some of it broke over here, so I had to do a repair job. I haven't recolored that yet. But again, it's been a great learning project, great work in progress, and it's getting close to done. It's not done yet, but it is getting close. So thanks for joining me. I welcome your questions and comments. Like I mentioned, this is a rough and raw, unscripted version of the story, and I'm getting ready to make a more polished version documenting this structure, this head hut, Earthship-Inspired mega sculpture, as I call it. And so if you have any questions that any of this sparked, or I misspoke and you need clarification, please let me know in the comments below, and I will do that. Until next time, peace, progress, prosperity.